also like it's on Fed 17, 22. Precisely. Well,
So it's an incredible story. Incredible story to see on it. That's the latest here. More stories coming out today.
Yeah, my backpack's plugged into Coco's truck.
Wow. Last year it was 6.
Yes. No, I'm using my camera for extra shots and backup and interviews, and I've got a backup plugged into the sound system. But yeah, that's all right. I can send Videolicious again.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Susan Winchester, Chair of the Oklahoma City National Memorial Foundation. On this Easter weekend, so many of you, like me, remember gathering with family members to celebrate the holiday. And for many of us, that would be the last special time that we would spend with our loved ones, whose fate just a few days later would end so tragically. When tragedy struck, it was our first responders who answered the call for help. We thank our Oklahoma Fire Pipes and Drums for leading our procession today, just like the fire department led the rescue and recovery efforts 19 years ago. That day began very much like today, with the sun shining and people going about their lives. And then at 9:02 a.m., our lives forever changed. Our first responders never left our sides. Those like Dr. Eleanor Laughtonville, a mental health first responder who spent many days with the families following the bombing. Now retired, her service continues as one of our dedicated memorial volunteers whose service began the year our museum opened. Today, she will read our mission statement.
We come here to remember those who were killed, those who survived, those changed forever. May all who leave here know the impact of violence. May this memorial offer comfort, strength, hope, and serenity. Please join me in 168 seconds of silence.
Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this beautiful day that you have blessed us with. God, thank you so much for the quietness of the hour and the serenity that we're enjoying right now. God, we come to you today on behalf of these friends, family, loved ones, first responders, God, that are here today to reflect and to remember. God, reflect and remember those precious lives that were taken from us. To reflect and to remember, God, those lives that were saved. And to reflect and to remember the friendships that have been gained through our first responders and those that worked that very horrific event. God, I pray for your sustaining grace to continue to see these families through. I pray for that grace as we continue to go through year by year, as this tragedy has taken a very significant toll on our city, but God, your love shines through. Thank you so much for the men and women of this city and this great state that continue to be strong in times of sadness. God, thank you so much for this board, their leadership, and their direction as we continue to go through these events. It's to you, God, I pray, through my Savior. Amen. Would you please stand for the raising of the colors by the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps and the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner by the Heritage Hall Show Choir.
Please be seated. Thank you, Chapter Giltner, for our Oklahoma City Police Department. Thank you also to the Heritage Hall Show Choir and to the U.S. Naval Sea Corps. Most of the young people whose voices proudly performed our anthem and the Sea Cadets who raised our nation's flag were not even born that day on April 19, 1995. When the world's attention was focused on the aftermath of the bomb that destroyed the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, where we now gather. And for many of us, we will gather with family this weekend to celebrate Easter. Regardless of your faith, I believe anyone affected by that senseless act of terrorism can relate to a very personal message shared by Pastor Rick Warren, who says that Friday of Easter week is a day of suffering and pain, while Saturday of Easter week is a day of doubt, confusion, and misery, much like we felt in 1995. Yet Easter Sunday is a day of hope and joy and victory. Regardless of your religious convictions, his message went on to say that in our lifetime, we all will face these 3 days over and over and over again. Days of suffering, days of confusion, days of hope and joy. It has been our goal at the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum to share our firsthand accounts of that day of misery, but then to continue sharing the lessons learned in the days following when we tried to regain clarity. We quickly learned about the generosity, love, and care of our community. Our story, now shared with millions who come here each year and with people around the world who look to us as an example of choosing peace over violence. With each passing year, it is expected that attention to our grounds and museum would require more upkeep. Time also intensifies the ongoing struggle to remain relevant and informative, especially for the next generation, like the young people you've seen already this morning. Yet it is vital that we keep alive the lessons learned from April 19th, continuing to build on our mission that future generations will always be able to honor, learn, reflect, and regain hope here at the Oklahoma City National Memorial. Recently, we embarked on a capital campaign to fund the needed enhancements and the continuation of our endowment, which makes it possible for our memorial to be self-sustaining. On April 10th, survivors, family members, and rescue workers previewed Phase 1 that is now open to the public and includes a new gallery of honor as well as computer interactives. One day after Phase 1 was completed, we were pleased to announce that our capital campaign had reached its goal. As you can see behind you from the scaffolding, Phase 2 of the enhancements has already begun, with more than 60 feet of scaffolding built in preparation for a 40-foot overlook being constructed so that those touring the museum can look out and see the beauty of this outdoor memorial. And those visiting the outside can see there is another part of this story inside those walls. Phase 2 is the largest and most difficult part of our 7-phase project. All of our enhancements are designed to continue building on our mission, to show the inspiring contrast between the brutality of the evil and the tenderness of response. We are the guardians of this hallowed ground, and together we will continue caring for one of our nation's most sacred memorials and museums. We thank all of those who support our memorial and museum, and one vital partner is that of Oklahoma City, the city of Oklahoma City. We are pleased to have Councilman Meg Salyer joining with us today, and here to speak on behalf of the city, please welcome Mayor Mick Cornett.
Thank you and good morning. And to those of you who come to us from out of town, welcome to Oklahoma City. This is a very special place, not only in our history, but also in our present and our lives today and going forward. As I travel, I continually meet people who have visited our memorial, and they want to tell me how much their lives were changed just by a simple visit to this place. Geographically, it is in the center of the country, the center of the state, and the center of the city. But I would maintain this is the heart of our country. This is the heart of our state. And this is the heart of our city. So please embrace the changes, and whatever you take away from this morning's events, and whatever visual images you take with you, remember that you are taking with you the heart and soul of Oklahoma City, not only those who lost their lives here 19 years ago, but those who still live here today, and don't ever want to forget what happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Cornett. One state leader who spent many days in the aftermath of April 19th was then our Lieutenant Governor. She spent weeks comforting the survivors and families of those who were killed, as well as the rescue workers from around the nation who traveled to our city and joined in the recovery efforts. She was here when we dedicated this memorial 14 years ago and has been here every year since. Today, she joins us as our governor. Please welcome the Honorable Mary Fallon.
Good morning. What a beautiful day we have today on this Easter holiday weekend. And thank you, Susan. Susan, we want to include you in our thoughts and prayers as you lost your sister, Dr. Peggy Clark, 19 years ago, along with 167 other innocent lives that were taken that day. It's hard to even believe it's been 19 years. And Susan, I want to thank you for all your work on this board and the board of directors of the Oklahoma City Memorial and Museum. Thank you for all that you have done, and I'm very excited to see the great work that's going to be done to further enhance the legacy, the lives, the memory, to celebrate the state of Oklahoma in our response to this terrible tragedy that occurred on this site 19 years ago with the expansion of 903 project. We appreciate you, and especially you, Mike Turpin, and your work in raising money, and John Rochelle's, and Carrie Watkins, who's our director here at this beautiful facility. Thank you for all that you've been doing to help us not to forget, because it is true, it's been 19 years, and there are a lot of our children that were not here, not born at that time, and we don't ever want them to forget the tremendous loss that was here, and certainly to remember the greatness of Oklahoma after that terrible fate in our time. 19 years ago, a moment in time changed the face of Oklahoma forever. An unimaginable, very shocking act of terrorism that was perpetrated on Oklahoma City and our nation. 168 lives lost, 19 children lost in that terrible attack. It was so hard to even fathom something like that happening in the great state of Oklahoma. The horror, the brutality, and the evil act on the Murrah building can never be forgotten and can never be overstated. It was an attack that could have easily crippled our city, could have easily crippled our state. It could have left our people hopeless, but it did not. Instead, the people of Oklahoma banded together with the help of our volunteers and our well-wishers, not only from across our state, but from across our nation, and even from around the world. They helped us overcome. We worked together, we comforted each other, we rebuilt. And today, we are a more prosperous city and a stronger state. We recovered from this terrible tragedy, but we have not forgotten. This memorial and museum will stand in memory of the lives that were lost and will continue to stand in the future. This is a testament to the strength of our people, the resiliency of the survivors, and to the lives that were changed forever. This honors the sacrifice of our first responders, our volunteers that were here immediately after the attack, and those that worked so very hard. They remind us of the Oklahoma standard that became known not only in our state, but around the nation and even around the world. The resiliency, the community spirit that Oklahoma has become famous for. And that same spirit, nearly a year ago, once again, had to be brought to bear, refreshed in our minds, to comfort one another during another very difficult time last May, when we had the terrible set of tornadoes that came through and swept across our state. Another loss of lives, an unexpected loss of life, of adults and children once again. But just as we did in the wake of the Murrah building and the bombing, we came together as a community. We grieved and we mourned for those that were lost, and then we have been rebuilding and we are recovering. And that's what it means to be Oklahoma strong. And we are Oklahoma strong. I'd like to ask all Oklahomans, as well as all Americans watching today, to take time to remember, to pray for the victims and their families affected by not only the tornadoes last year, but certainly those that are represented here today, this beautiful memorial in this site, and to not forget the terrible tragedy that happened 19 years ago. I also like for us to remember and to pray the volunteers, the first responders, those that work so very hard on this site, week after week, month after month, and then years to come, to help us build this beautiful memorial and to not forget. And I also like to ask our citizens to join me in giving thanks to God for the strength of our community, for the resiliency of our people, without which we could not have recovered from such a tragedy. On a personal note, last night my husband and I had a chance to go see a movie, something we don't always get to go do. But it's Easter weekend, so we took a break. And we went and saw the movie, Heaven is for Real. And during this time of the year, as we're sitting here at this memorial, and we think about tomorrow, and we're gathering with our families and our loved ones, and remembering the resurrection of our Christ, those of us who are people of faith, and we're searching for that hope and that strength. The movie was a reminder that heaven is real, God is real, and He's here to comfort us, and He's here to be with us during our challenging times. May God bless Oklahoma, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. We appreciate your continued support. We're honored today to have from the 5th District of Oklahoma, Congressman James Langford, and I have to say that he has totally embraced the mission here at the memorial and has been with us any and every time we have asked. We're very honored to have him with us again today. Congressman?
Good morning. It's nice to have this beautiful of a day. For many of the family, friends, and neighbors that have been here year after year, we remember together many times it was not this pleasant sitting out here on April the 19th remembering. We've had days that were very cold. We've had days we were inside when it was raining. Some of you may remember the year that the Canadian snow geese decided to dive bomb us over and over again across the reflecting pool. It's nice to be able to have a day like this, to be able to sit still and remember in the beautiful weather and the quietness and serenity of this morning. It's a good weekend as well. Remember the resurrection of our Lord. Think about things that we should remember, and we should remember well. Place and time is incredibly important. In our faith, many times we go back to a place, we go back to a time so we would not forget. In my own family, 13 years ago, we got my mom a seedling from the survivor tree, which looks terrific today. Seedling from that survivor tree was for my mom because she's a 2-time cancer survivor, and she was in the process of going through cancer treatments again. Planted that tree in her backyard, and it was about this tall. 13 years later, that tree grew up and is larger than her house. And this past winter, the ice storm got it, split it right in half. My mom called me in the middle of that time, and she said, I can't believe we just lost our survivor tree. Ours, our families. Because it was the moment for us to be able to look at not only what's happened in my mom's life, but also just that constant remembrance. Place and time are important to us, that we do not lose track of that. It's a biblical concept, but it's also a family connection concept, that we don't lose that we're able to come back to a place. I'm so grateful, Carrie Watkins, and for all the staff, and for all the people, and for Mike, and all the folks that are helping continue on this place, so we'll always have a place to come back to our children and be able to explain the story again. Joshua chapter 4 tells the story about when the children of Israel crossed over the Jordan and crossed into the promised land, that they would set up a memorial there. And let me just read a section of the passage. It says, in the future, when your children ask you, what do these stones mean? Because they gathered the stones out of the Jordan and set them up. What do these stones mean? Tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, when it crossed the Jordan and the waters of the Jordan were cut off. And then they said, these stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever. Forever there would be a moment to be able to stop and come back and remember, so the children would not forget. Some of you may remember, I've told it before here, today is my daughter's birthday. She's 14 years old today. And every year on her birthday, we talk again about the significance of April the 19th. She will always remember, because her birthday's connected to this day. But our community will always remember as well. I pray God's blessing on all of us, that we would not be afraid to remember, but that we would also be a people that declare the hope that is in Jesus Christ. And the redemption of Easter is also the redemption of our lives and of our city. God bless us today as we remember.
You
and walking on the water, even when I could not see. And in the middle of it all, when I thought you were 1,000 miles away, not for a moment did you forsake me. Not for a moment did you forsake me. And after all, you are constant. And after all, you are only good. And after all, you are sovereign. Not for a moment did you forsake me. Not for a moment did you forsake me. You were singing in the dark and whispering your promise, even when we could not hear. Oh, we were held in your arms and carried for 1,000 miles to show. Not for a moment did you forsake us. Not for a moment did you forsake us. And after all, you are constant. And after all, you are only good. And after all, you are sovereign. Not for a moment did you forsake us. Not for a moment did you forsake us. And every step, every breath, you are there. And every tear, every cry, every prayer. In my hurt, at my worst, when my world falls down.
Thank you, Carmen and Lincoln. Not for a moment did you forsake me. Words from that beautiful song are so fitting as we gather here today. Thank you so much. This annual ceremony reminds the world that what happened here on April 19th, 19 years ago, will never be forgotten. Nor will we forsake or abandon anyone affected by the events of that day. As a community, we will always remember, and that is why it is so important that we gather each year on April 19th to honor those whose lives were lost. Since the dedication of this memorial 14 years ago, more than 6 million people from more than 97 countries have walked these grounds, remembering and for so many, learning where the mural building once stood, honoring the souls lost, and finding comfort in the infinite acts of kindness. Nearly 3 million visitors have experienced that fateful day in 1995 that so many of us experienced firsthand as they walk through the museum that tells a story of chaos and destruction, understanding how our community began to rebuild and to take care of one another. More than 500,000 school children and teachers have engaged in the museum's educational programs, recognizing that each life has meaning and each life has importance. And so we come here today to honor and remember those who were killed, and we keep alive the belief that good will prevail over evil. In a few moments, the members of the family who were lost that day, names will be read. Respecting our custom, I would ask that everyone wait until all the names are read before standing and visiting the chairs. Thank you.
We come here to remember those at the Oklahoma Water Resources Board building: Trudy, Jean, Rigney, Robert N. Chipman. We remember those at the Athenian building: Job Corps, Catherine Elizabeth Ridley, Anita Christine Hightower. We remember rescue worker and my sister, Rebecca Needham Anderson.
We remember those who were killed at the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, U.S. Secret Service, 9th floor. Alan G. Witcher, Kathy Lynn Seidel, Linda G. McKinney, Mickey B. Maroney, Donald Ray Leonard, Cynthia L. Brown. We remember our friends and family with the Drug Enforcement Administration, 9th floor. Kenneth Glenn McCullough, Carrie Ann Lentz, and baby Michael James Lentz III. Rona Lynn Kuhner Chafee, Carol June Chip Fields, Shelley D. Bland,
we remember our friends and family with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, 8th floor. Clarence Eugene Wilson, Sr. Francis Fran Ann Williams, Michael D. Weaver, David Jack Walker, Jules A. Valdez, Laura Lee Sells, Lanny Lee David Scroggins, Antonio Tony C. Reyes, Dr. George Michael Howard, DVM, my cousin, Susan Jane Farrell, Kimberly K. Clark, Donald Earl Burns Sr., David Neal Burkett, Peter R. Villanosa, Ted L. Allen.
We continue to remember our friends and family at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, 7th floor. Joanne Wittenberg, John Carl Van Ness III, John Thomas Stewart, Terry Smith Reese, Patricia Ann Nix, Betsy J. B.B. McDonald, James A. McCarthy II, Mary Leisure Renty, Teresa Lee Taylor Lauderdale, Anne Krimborg, my father, Thompson Eugene Gene Hodges, Jr., J. Colleen Giles, Linda Louise Florence, Judy J. Fro Fisher, Castine Brooks Hearn Devereaux, Diana Lynn Day, Kim R. Cousins, Andrea Yvette Blanton, Diane E. Hollingsworth Althouse. We continue to remember our friends from HUD on the 5th floor. Paul Gregory Beatty Brocksterman,
we remember our friends at the U.S. Corps Recruiting 6th floor. Captain Randolph A. Guzman, USMC. Sergeant Benjamin Lorenzo Davis, USMC. We remember those with the U.S. Customs 5th floor. My father, Claude Arthur Medeiros, Senior Special Agent. Paul D. Ice, Senior Special Agent. We remember our friends and family with the Department of Agriculture, 5th floor. Rita Bender Long, Carol Sue Khalil, Doris Adele Higginbottom, Richard Dick Cummins, Dr. Margaret L. Peggy Clark, James E. Bowles, Olin Burl Bloomer.
We remember those in the U.S. Army Recruiting Battalion, 4th floor. Wanga Lee Watkins, Kayla Marie Tisworth, Dolores D. Stratton, Victoria Vicky L. Son, John C. Moss III, Peggy Louise Holland, my sister Karen Gist Carr, Sergeant First Class Lola Bolden, U.S. Army.
We remember our friends with the Department of Transportation, Federal Highway 4th floor. John A.
Youngblood, Johnny Allen Wade, Rick L. Tomlin, Michelle A. Reeder, Jerry Lee Parker, Winona Ann Newberry Woodbridge, James K. Martin, Larry James Jones, Michael Carrillo, Mark Allen Pulte, Lucio Alleman Jr.
We remember our friends and family with the Federal Employees Credit Union, 3rd floor. Teresa Joe Mathis Wharton, Virginia M. Thompson, Victoria Jeanette Texter, my mother, Karen Howell Shepard, Sonia Lynn Sanders, Christy Rosas, Claudine Ritter, Jill Diane Randolph, Frankie Ann Merrill, Claudette Duke Meek, Kathy Cagle Linen, Valerie Joe Kelch, Alvin J. Justice, Christy Yolanda Jenkins, Robin and Huff and baby Amber Denise Huff, Linda Colleen Housley, Sheila R. Gear Driver, and baby Gregory N. Driver II. Jamie Filkowski Ginzer, Kathy A. Finley, Kimberly Ruth Burgess, Woodrow Clifford Woody Brady.
We remember our friends and family with the Defense Security Service, 3rd floor. Robert G. Westbury, Larry L. Turner, my mother, Norma Jean Johnson, Peter L. DeMaster, Harley Richard Cottingham. We remember our visitor on the 2nd floor, Scott D. Williams.
We remember our friends and family from the America's Kids Child Development Center, 2nd floor. Colton Wade Smith, Chase Dalton Smith, Dominique Reve Johnson London, Blake Ryan Kennedy, Wanda Lee Howell, Kevin Lee Gottschall II, Tevin DeAndre Garrett, Tyler Santoy Eves, Brenda Faye Daniels, JC Ray Coyne, Elijah S. Coverdale, Aaron M. Coverdale, Antonio and Sarah Cooper Jr., Anthony Christopher Cooper II, Dana Leanne Cooper, my nephew Zachary Taylor Chavez, Danielle Nicole Bell, Miss Bailey Allman.
We remember our family and friends from General Services Administration, first floor. Michael L. Loudenslager. My uncle, Stephen Douglas Curry. We remember our family and friends from Social Security Administration, first floor. Sharon Louise Wood Chestnut. W. Stephen Williams. Julie Marie Welch. Robert N. Walker Jr. Luther H. Trainer. LaRue A. Trainer. Michael George Thompson. Charlotte Andrea Lewis Thomas.
We continue to remember our friends and family with the Social Security Administration, first floor. Emilio Tapia, Eula Lee Mitchell, Derwin W. Miller, Courtney J. McRaven, our dad, Reverend Gilbert X. Martinez, Robert Lee Luster Jr., Aurelia Donna Luster, Airman First Class Lakeisha Richardson Levy, Raymond Lee Johnson, Jean Nutting Hurlbert, Dr. Charles E. Hurlbert, Thomas Lynn Hawthorne Sr., Ronald Vernon Harding Sr., Cheryl E. Hammond, Ethel L. Griffin, Margaret Betterton Goodson, Laura Jane Garrison, Mary Ann Fritzler, Dawn Fritzler,
Sandra G. Sandy Avery, Pamela Cleveland Argo, Richard A. Allen, Teresa Antoinette Alexander, We continue to remember our friends and family with the Social Security Administration first floor. Ashley Megan Eccles, Catherine Louise Cregan, Gabrion D.L. Bruce, Peachlyn Bradley, Carol Louise Bowers, Cassandra K. Booker, Alita C. Biddy, Paola Battle, Calvin Battle, Sandra G. Sandy Avery, Pamela Cleveland Argo, Richard A. Allen, Teresa Antoinette Alexander.
Thank you. We invite you to see Phase 1 of the new enhancements in the museum while you're here today. It will remain open until 6 p.m. Admittance to the museum is complimentary as part of Cox Community Day. It is their way of ensuring that all who want to visit the museum can do so. We also want to thank our friends at Teleflora and New Leaf Floral for the complimentary roses that you see on every chair this morning. And I want to remind you that 1 week from tomorrow, more than 25,000 runners from around the world will gather here to participate in the annual Oklahoma City National Memorial Marathon, running in honor of the memories of those who were lost, celebrating their lives, and uniting the world in hope. Thank you so much for joining us today and helping us continue building on our mission. May God continue to bless our community and our Oklahoma City National Memorial. Thank you so much. God bless.
Now